Joining us now, Eddie Glaude, chairman of the Center for African American Studies at Princeton University and an MSNBC contributor, and Reverend Mark Thompson, host of Make It Plain on Sirius XM Progress 127. Eddie, we are back to many sides, or both sides, or what the president today just called the other side. And when asked to comment about this today, after this congressional resolution naming specifically the KKK and others, the only group he could name was Antifa.
Yeah, I guess it's a sense of his own kind of deafness to this issue. I mean, one of the things that we do know is that there are certain kinds of sensibilities that evidence themselves in these sorts of moments. And it seems to me that President Trump finds it very difficult to not engage in this false equivalence because he's in some ways engaging in a sleight of hand. Right, that is to kind of get us to see that there is a lot of blame to pass around so that we don't really focus on the fact that white supremacists were at the core of what happened in Charlottesville and at the core of some people who support him, so in some ways.
And Mark, and when you look at this congressional resolution, there's nothing ambiguous about it. There's no Trumpian piece of this congressional resolution. It just goes straight at the real problem.
Thanks as always for having me, Lawrence. I need not reinvent the wheel. I think, to borrow your words, I think you said this is the stupidest and most ignorant president in history. Jamel Hill of ESPN has called him a white supremacist, and better not a hair upon her head be touched by this White House. So you put that together, this is the stupidest white supremacist in history. People were marching against the Confederacy and those statues. He comes out and suggests, well, what if they take down statues of presidents who owned slaves? Nobody even had that idea. Even the white supremacists said, why would you even suggest that? Even when Woodrow Wilson premiered Birth of a Nation in the White House, the movie depicted this racist fantasy of an African-American causing the death of a young white woman. The white supremacists Donald Trump is defending and minimizing their actions killed a white woman. So it's not many sides, many sides. He keeps saying that. It is one side, and he needs to speak out against it.
So this incident today was a question about his meeting yesterday with Tim Scott, the Republican senator, the only African-American Republican senator. And Tim Scott put out this statement today about what the president said today. He said, in yesterday's meeting, this is from his office, in yesterday's meeting, Senator Scott was very, very clear about the brutal history surrounding the white supremacist movement and their horrific treatment of black and other minority groups. Rome wasn't built in a day. And to expect the president's rhetoric to change based on one 30-minute conversation is unrealistic. Antifa is bad and should be condemned, yes, but the KKK has been killing and tormenting black Americans for centuries. There is no realistic comparison, period.
I think that's absolutely right. So we can't expect Donald Trump to change because of the photo opportunity that he orchestrated with Senator Scott. That's the first thing. The second thing we need to suggest, or say very clearly, Lawrence, is this. It is a long-standing practice in the United States when confronting racist organizations that are violent, to, in some ways, castigate those who resist those organizations. So there's a reason why we often associate law and order with Nixon, when in fact law and order was invoked over and against Dr. King and those nonviolent protesters. We need to understand that the NAACP was likened to the KKK. Alabama banned that organization. So the argument to equate Antifa, Cornel West was there with clergy protesting in Charlottesville, and he said they would have been fundamentally harmed if Antifa didn't show up. They would have been hurt. He said, in fact, they would be dead. So this false equivalency is really the sleight of hand, really to hide what Trump truly believes. Trump truly believes that those folk who side with him, right, actually reflect views that animate his own position. That's what we need to be clear.
And Mark, the whole point of arranging this meeting for Senator Tim Scott and that photo opportunity of the president sitting there with the black senator was to get this problem behind him.
Well, you said it. I mean, he changes his mind every day. he meets with congressmen and talks about DACA, and then he says, we didn't have a deal. So he changes all the time. He may say something, he may come back tomorrow and say something different from what he said before. That's what he does. But, you know, Senator Scott said you can't expect him to change in a day. He's had a lifetime to change. Yeah. His father discriminated in housing. He called for the Central Park 5 to be executed. He's been called out for his racism all his life. It's time he wake up and grow up.
The first time his name ever appeared in the New York Times, Donald Trump, was in a case of racial discrimination in the housing practices of the Trump company. Professor Eddie Glaude and Mark Thompson, thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lawrence.